So yes, I'm happy to be here with you all today. My name is Lauren Wojcik. Like Jill said, I'm on the solutions team with Libris. Um, we are responsible for delivering demos, answering questions about product functionality for folks who are typically thinking about any of the Ex Libris solutions or already have Alma and they're looking at like Leganto or Specto or things like that. So we are kind of the we sort of run this a very interesting track between customers and product management and all that. But I am that being said, I am not on the product team, but we do work with them very closely, and I'm happy to be able to present some of the things I have heard from them and learned from my own experience. So we will be talking today about AI at specifically starting like with Alma, but then moving into Clarivate in general. My background is in libraries as well. I worked in the health sciences as a reference and public service librarian prior to coming on board here. And now I work with libraries across the US and Canada, and we have colleagues in other regions that work with the rest of our customer community. So that's just a little bit about me and why I'm here to talk to you today. Uh, so let's just talk about a little bit of the background behind AI and how we got to this point. So it's no surprise to anybody that libraries are facing a lot of challenges today. We have evolving patron expectations. There are growing workflows, more complex workflows, and we have a lot of different kind of materials that we're managing as well. It's not no longer just physical books. It's not even just physical books and e resources. It's things like video collections, audio. So there's a lot of different scope change sort of that we're seeing in libraries. And of course, limited resources. We have all seen that firsthand. At the same time, there is this new concept of artificial intelligence, or maybe not new, but like it seems like it's really taken off in the past couple of years, not just in the library world, but all over the world. And thinking about how that applies to the library context, the higher education context. So yes, we have generative AI. It can create text, images, videos. Is anybody cataloging these things? Do we even want these things in our, in our collections, or to what extent do we want these in our collections? We have large language models that are being used to process data, generate metadata, generate queries for research, things like that. And now we're even seeing AI agents, which is the next step or the next stage. That the agent is kind of like a manager that manages a bunch of different tasks. So this is like even a whole new thing just in the past year that we've started hearing about the agents. Um, and I thought it would be good to just kind of ground ourselves in what we're talking about or what I'm going to be talking about in this presentation when I think about artificial intelligence. Um, so it's not really like like typical sci-fi AI yet. Like it doesn't really understand on its own. It's not self-aware. It's not as cool as like R2-D2 from Star Wars. I wish it was, but it's not. It's basically a complex engine that takes in data and uh, produces output. There are some field-specific artificial intelligence tools, like specific language models. Um, there's image generators. Of course, you have probably seen the robotic cars that are using AI to drive around. I live in Austin, Texas, and we like literally have cars that go by on the street. They have nobody in them. It's very, very very, very surreal. And that's actually using kind of AI. They train it on the map of Austin and it has sensors, but it's basically like it's driving autonomously. So there are these different types of AI, and and so you there's actually it's kind of a big world out there. So I wanted to bring it down a little bit to what we were going to specifically talk about. And then again, the agentic AI, that AI manager, I'm going to talk about that a little bit later because that no surprise, is also coming to the library world. So when we think about generative AI, there is a lot of potential there. There are also challenges. And I know people really fall across a spectrum of feelings about this. So let's just talk about some of the commonly noted potential, maybe things that could come out of this that could be beneficial, right? So it could assist librarians, it could help improve our workflows, maybe help us work more efficiently so that we can spend our brain power on tasks that really need it versus kind of those more mundane things that could be automated. AI can be really helpful with data analysis. This one is, I think, really key, especially when we think about a solution like Alma with all the data that you have in there. And yes, we have our great analytics tools, but how long does it take, or how long do you spend like sitting down and looking at those various reports? Is that maybe something that AI could help synthesize all of the data that exists in a tool to make it more readily digestible for you? And then error detection, that can be helpful too, to have it um, kind of flag potential errors, things like that. Challenges, of course, everybody has heard of the hallucinations, making up like legal references and crazy stuff like that. That is definitely a challenge with AI. There are things that we can do to try to reduce the amount of hallucinations, but it is a legitimate issue that needs to be considered. Also, this massive creation of data, um, this AI data that might be kind of pervading the ecosystem. And then do we have like creation of data that came from AI and kind of this iterative process of, we have all heard the term like garbage in, garbage out. So are we at risk of that sort of situation where we have so much AI that we can't discern anymore what is helpful and what is not? Impact on trusted sources. So again, kind of like, is the internet being overrun with stuff that is not super helpful? And there's environmental challenges as well. We didn't put this on the slide, but I definitely want to acknowledge that as well. The data centers, the massive amount of water and things that they have to use. There are, again, things that we can do to try to address that, but that is something I just wanted to acknowledge as well. So thinking about, from that context, just bringing it down very specifically to some things I can actually show you, and then, conceptually, like we could spend all day on that. But let's actually talk about what is in Alma today. And hopefully some of you have had a chance to work with some of these, but if not, maybe today you'll get to see it and be inspired to use it at your own institution. But we have the AI metadata assistant. This lives in the metadata editor and it generates metadata suggestions. It is a mediated workflow, and your staff, your catalogers have control over the data. So it's not like fully independently generating records. It's just generating fields that the cataloger can accept, can edit, can delete. And it's based on description or images of the resource currently. We also have a similar assistant coming to Specto. So if you're cataloging digital resources in Alma, that one has been optimized with prompt generation specifically for digital images and documents. So the queries that we build for that are a little bit different than those for the AI metadata assistant, and it's kind of specialized, which is why that one's just for Specto. But the AI metadata assistant is for everybody, available to use. We're also using a metadata generator in the community zone. Um, it's looking at the full text and enriching records with specific fields. So that is something that's not as apparent to folks because they just kind of see the data once it's in the CZ. But that is something that we're using on the back end to help enrich those records and to help address concerns that maybe some of those e-resource records aren't as robust or as rich as folks would like. So we are using AI to assist with that process. One of the things that we really take seriously when we think about our services, this is I know our product managers do, and I do as well when I speak to libraries, is that we want AI to be in the service of libraries and librarians. We don't want it like doing people's jobs for them or telling them how to do their jobs. We want it to make folks work more efficiently or help folks work more efficiently. So, certain workflows that are just, again, like kind of manual or mundane or really, really boring. Is there anything we can do with AI to help address that and make the day go a little smoother for you? Are there ways that we can help analyze things like that data assessment? um, some recommendations. Maybe you're going to hear more about this, or maybe um, there's a Rialto session, I think maybe at the same time as this one. And so that you will hear more about this in the coming weeks and months about recommendations for collection development, things like that. A lot of times we hear from librarians that this could be a multi-month process when they add a new program, say, to their institution, and they need to bulk up the library collection to support that new program. Um, is there anything we could do to make that a little bit faster so you can get up and running supporting that new program more quickly? And some of the benefits that we hope, like what would be the actual end goal here, is to increase efficiency at the library, reduce the manual work, and then optimize your budget. So helping find ways to make sure you're spending your collections budget, maybe other budgets in the best way for your institution. So we want to be beneficial. We want AI to be beneficial. We want it to offer helpful and ethical solutions. And again, assisting librarians in the service of librarians with community collaboration, respecting laws and best practices. We'd like to see it transform how we do work, how we work efficiently. And that's where some of the agentic AI that we'll talk about more could come into play, as well as generating metadata, especially for large collections of things like images that are not typically individually described. Is there, some way that we could help, again, make that process a little easier so that you can have more of your collection richly described so that people can actually find it? And the responsible AI use, again, the human in charge. We don't train our AI on uploaded data. We have it kind of in a walled garden to where it is using an LLM, but um, it's actually using RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So we use the LLM, but we only query, say, our community, um, our central discovery index rather. So we're not like searching the entire World Wide Web. We're only searching a mediated collection of what should be highly citable academic content. So that reduces the amount of hallucinations and things like that. And of course, privacy is important. That's why we don't train it on the data or train it on queries, even like our research assistant. You can ask it different queries and it can save your searches if you want it to, but it's not actually like training itself on what people are asking. And we try to make some of this opt-in where feasible and practical, or as much as we can opt in, because we know some people, um, it's not something their institutions are ready to tackle yet, or they have specific guidelines they want to follow. So we're trying to be thoughtful about that as well. We do have an academic AI platform. If you weren't aware, we are taking this platform approach for all Clarivate products. So it's not just Ex Libris, but also our Web of Science products and things like that. So the team that is working with AI they may specialize in one solution, but the governance is we're taking this platform approach, which can be helpful, especially if you have multiple solutions from Exodus. You might see things start to pop up in different places and hopefully make for a better ecosystem. when we're thinking about AI, a more thoughtful approach to developing these too. That's also actually more cost effective, believe it or not, when you are able to take a platform approach. We can make sure that we're being more environmentally sensitive, that we're using like the smallest versions of the models like GPT Mini instead of the full GPT, and we can use it across the platform. So we can just be really mindful about how we're developing it. This is kind of the vision that our product management is working towards. We have already rolled out our knowledge and support agent that's here like on the upper left-hand side. And we will be rolling out, or we plan to. I mean, all of this just take it with a grain of salt because it is somewhat of a moving target. But this is the vision that we're hoping to see rolled out over the next um, next month's quarters into 2027, having these different agents that can help you with various areas of the system. Since this knowledge assistant is live already, I thought we could show that one. Um, and if anybody has used this already, we would be very interested to hear your thoughts. I see Jill giving a thumbs up. So this knowledge assistant is pretty new. It is a little chat, like a chat bot that you can talk to and ask about how to do things in Alma. So, like, how do I handle fiscal year rollover? That's one that we only do once a year, so it's easy to forget. In the meantime, like, what are we actually supposed to do? That's kind of a big question. It's thinking about it. But it will pop out this answer, and it's pulling from our Ex Libris documentation. And so you can see it did pull out like the actual step-by-step procedure, and it's formatted. Actually, this sometimes I think it's like easier to parse than some of the documentation on the Knowledge Center because it puts in the bullets and stuff. Um, and then if you want the references, if you want to go like straight to the source, we can click and here's the fiscal period closure documentation. And then if you do use this agent, it's going to ask you to say yes or no. Is it helpful before you can ask another question? Just to warn you, it's like that's as designed. Because our product management really wants feedback about how this tool is working. Um, so yes, it's like slightly obtrusive. Like you do have to rate it yes or no. I know it's a big decision and there's like no nuance at all. But I think that was pretty good. So I'll give it a yes and I'll read it and then I could like ask other questions. But that is as designed for the time being while we try to make sure that this tool is working as intended and that it's not giving unhelpful answers. So please rate it and please try it and rate it. And if it's not a good answer, let us know because we want to know. But this is, we see this, at least I see this a lot now, like online shopping and things like this, these kind of knowledge assistants. So we're bringing this into the platform. You know that there are other ways to get help. We can always go to the help for this page from the help menu or go to our documentation. But if you want to chat or you want it in a different format, the knowledge assistant is available. And this UI that you're seeing with the Knowledge Assistant is something that you're going to see popping up for the other agents as well. When I've seen screenshots of them, they kind of appear on the sidebar like this. So you might want to familiarize yourself with it because the other agents that we have planned are probably going to look and function in a similar manner. The one that I think is coming some of the soonest is the one like related to funds that you can query about like how much is your fund balance and things like that, and you can kind of chat with it. So as I mentioned earlier, we want to be collaborating with the community here. It's very much a community-based approach, and so our product management works with a committee, and they are constantly querying people to understand how the tools are working, what's needed, what's not needed, how can we make them better. Um, And you're seeing here this kind of flow. You can better see the development process specifically for the AI metadata assistant. Typically, with all of these uh, features, functionalities, whatever we want to call them, these tools, we do have an early access period where we work with a large group of catalogers, or like not super large, but like large enough to be representative, but small enough that our product managers can actually like talk to them and be in contact with them just to understand the needs, assess capabilities. We have a preview mode where all the Alma customers are able to access and send feedback. Usually we have actually like a feedback button, so we make it easy to submit your feedback. And then the full feature release, and now we're kind of at this spot of how are we going to evolve it for the future? We need to hear from the community about what is needed and where AI has the potential to be the most helpful or maybe unhelpful, and what kind of languages do we need to develop, any vocabularies we need to develop support for. So just to point out, because we're going to see this AI metadata assistant in a minute live, we're kind of like in the middle of the journey, right? We did develop, it is developed, it is in production, but it's not in its fully formed like end stage here. It's an iterative process with all of these AI solutions. If you are not familiar with the AI assistant, it is generating um, a record with different fields, including title, which you actually do enter. That's like one of the mandatory things you can see here with the asterisk. But it'll try to pull like the ISBN, the author, generate appropriate subject headings, and things like that. We're not training the third-party AI models, by the way. If you provide like any pictures of, say, a book, you have a picture of the title page or something, it's just processed for metadata generation. It's not going back to training the tool. And then the final version is a draft form. So the cataloger actually has to save it before it becomes part of your repository. So let's go ahead and jump back into Alma. We can see it. We'll get rid of that knowledge assistant for now. And let's see here. I think probably some of you have worked with this tool already, but if you haven't, I guess so. First of all, you do need a cataloger role. You do need to have privileges to catalog. So if you are not in that role at your institution, maybe ask one of your cataloger friends if you can shadow them if they are going to use this tool. It lives in the metadata editor. And so I'll just pop that open. And you may know that there's a couple of ways to create records today. Of course, we could use a template to populate the fields that we want to fill out. That was one of the kind of most efficient ways to work before we rolled out this tool. Um, and so we have kind of our templates already. We would know what forms we have to fill out. But now we have this new option to create with the AI assistant. And when you select that option, the instructions you have are to enter the metadata or images you want to use to generate the record. So I'm going to use a book that I actually have on my bookshelf over here. You can see I don't have to populate all these fields. I just really need a title, and I need to specify what kind of metadata I want. I usually just look for all of it because I like to see what as much as it can pull as possible. And I do have these pictures that I already took of it, if I can find them here. So I'll add those. Um, I can we can look at those in a larger form later if you're interested. It's just literally like I went to my book, I used my phone, took a picture of the cover and the back cover. So we would think at least it should be able to pull like the ISBN because that's on the back, maybe like the description of the book, the author name, because I know that's definitely on there. Um, and then we'll say generate the record. And it's submitted for processing like a job in Alma. So you don't need to babysit this. You could go and start cataloging other things. We could close the metadata editor. Um, it's just a process that runs in the background, and you'll get a notification when it finishes generating that record. So just so you know, because sometimes it can take a minute or two. We're not kind of wedded to staying on this page and working with it. So we're just going to give that a minute, and I'll go ahead and open these so we can look at what I had added. I have heard just like anecdotal feedback that folks find that this works the best for things like books, like to your traditional like monographs. I talked to a library that was using this to catalog CDs, and like so they would like add a picture of the CD cover and then the track list, and it did okay with that, but might need more improvement there. So again, like try different resources. We would love to have feedback on that. I think that I like the CD example because who really wants to sit there and like catalog every track that's on the CD, even though that would be super helpful for discovery purposes to have that information. But like it can be mundane. So I thought that was a cool idea to try to use that. Okay, so now we've got the alert that the AI assistant has finished processing. When I come it back to my metadata editor, I want to show you this. There's a flag there to show that it was AI generated. We want to be very transparent with these records that are generated by AI. Another thing that we've done is add a 588 field automatically to say that part of the metadata in this record was created with the help of the AI metadata assistant. And the 520 description that it generated, we have a subfield 7 that it was generated by AI. So there's a two like text mentions here of AI plus the flag on the side. If you needed to come back and find these again, it would be, you could do that with an indication rule. And so personally, I feel that's really important that people can see what has been generated by AI and know that this one was generated by the AI metadata system. But let's see what it pulled. So we know that we put the feather thief in there. So it gets no points for the 245A, sorry. But it did pull in the subtitle and the author. So that's really nice. I didn't have to type out this whole string of the subtitle. And we got a description. Having read this book, I think it did a pretty good job. And we even got some subject headings here. So, uh, I think it did a pretty good job. But if I had any problems with any of this, or I wanted to delete a field or add another field, I can do that. It's still just a draft at this point. So it saved me a lot of time doing, or if I was compared to like doing original cataloging of this record, but it is still under my control as the staff cataloger. So that is our AI metadata assistant. If you are using this and you have feedback, as I mentioned, we do have this little feedback option there. You can send right for our product managers to review your comments, how you think it did. So thanks for letting me show you that. I think it's very interesting, and I'm hoping people will use it so that we have more data, more opportunity to improve and iterate on it. So just a little bit more about how our product managers develop these tools. This is a screenshot from the Basecamp that the Alma AI focus group uses, and they're in communication with them very frequently. Group is made up of a number of different librarians from different countries, library types, areas of interest. These are some of the areas represented. So you can see we've got like a good representation of folks who should be able to advise on the development of these tools. Um, And thank you if any of them happen to be on the line. I'm glad that we are able to develop this in collaboration with the community because I think that's how you get the best solutions is when everybody's advised, everybody kind of has an input into it. Okay, so just taking a step back from Alma specifically and looking at Clarivate as a whole. What does our academic AI plan look like? We are the academia and government arm of Clarivate, so we are kind of focused on our academic institutions, our government institutions. We have a number of different research assistants. You probably know about the Primo research assistant, but we have one for Web of Science, ProQuest, eBook Central. There are new things coming, new assistants coming to EndNote. I told you already about the digital assets with Specto. So we've been talking about that a lot lately. And then our platform. I mentioned this too, that we do have a platform that kind of runs and informs all of these different solutions. So AI is changing really rapidly. Even just last year, we were getting questions like, how are you working with AI? Are you going to introduce this, that? How should the library interact with AI or work with AI? And now, just a year later, the questions are very different. We've seen a lot of AI adoption. A lot of institutions now have policies around AI. And so it's kind of like become an inevitability. It's like no longer is it, but it's a when or how do we work with this effectively. So here are some of the things that we have learned across Clarivate by interacting with our community. Um, I particularly like the well, there's a lot on here, but to call out, but the transparency, people want to know like how this is being generated, what's being generated, and then keeping humans in control, right? So that I think is really key, especially for Alma. Agents are coming. I mentioned these earlier. You can see like the different waves starting on the left. We had like the machine learning, then we had the generative AI. These are the things that will actually generate that metadata, or they'll draw a picture for you, that kind of thing. So the third wave is actually agentic AI. It is like the managerial AI, if you want to think about it that way. So just comparing, I think most of us are becoming familiar with large language models versus the agents. So that we kind of took the LLMs on the left and the newer functionality with the agents. So LLMs, it's just like a short-term interaction, whereas agents are actually goal-oriented. They can plan things and they can run through a series of steps. LLMs don't have autonomy. They're only going to act when you prompt them, but an agent can act on its own. LLMs do not have memory of past interactions, but agents can maintain that memory across tasks. So we're getting a little closer to like the R2D2 droid, maybe with the agent. And they both have their role. Right. So it's not, I'm not saying we don't want, I don't want to give the impression that LLMs are going away, just that the agents are being added as another option for using AI. And in fact, agents leverage the LLMs. So the agent can like orchestrate multiple LLMs or processes in LLMs. That's kind of what you're seeing here. So they all can work in context theoretically. These are some of the things that AI agents can do even outside of the library context, things like supply chain management, software development. So if you want to learn more, you're not limited to the library context here. You've probably seen like a million commercials for the Salesforce agents. I still don't quite know what that is, I'm going to be honest, but I know I've seen commercials about it. So they're kind of everywhere. We are going to have some AI agents at Clarivate. The first one is the Web of Science Research Assistant. It's a literature review agent. So again, that like autonomous, like it's actually going to review the literature and generate findings. we also have the third one is the PQ chat with a document that was just released to our dev partners a couple months ago. This is the Web of Science one, but I'm kind of partial to the ProQuest Research Assistant where you can have the full text open and on the bottom you can ask the document a question. They ask, is it dangerous for therapy patients to use companion chatbots? And it's kind of answered with potential dangers here. So you can kind of chat with the document. I think it's kind of cool. I hope people use that one as well and give us feedback on it. Just wanted to introduce this concept of MCP. I had not heard about it until a couple months ago. This is a standard that um, helps us have AI agents like work together and across platforms. So similar to how we might use like the NCIP standard for our interlibrary loan, we can use MCP to standardize how AI agents make calls and work with each other. The reason I wanted to introduce this and why it matters here is that it allows interoperability. So just, pay in mind here as we start to develop for the future how this could work to where the actual agents could pull from external tools, community tools, things that your institution, maybe pull from Primo and EndNote. The possibilities there are pretty broad and pretty cool. So this is kind of a newer standard to be aware of. And we want to have a Clarivate agent builder so that you could build your own agents potentially for your institution. So just we're pretty much at time. So I just wanted to dangle that there, just a future learning opportunity. And if you do want to learn more, we have sponsored a free AI program. It's like an 8-week self-paced course. I'm taking it myself. I think it's pretty cool. And the link is there if you're interested in learning more about AI literacy. It's designed for librarians. So thank you so much for your time today. Um, if you have questions, we can maybe take one or two, and I'm happy to take things offline too if necessary.
Yeah, we have a few questions in the Q&A. The first one is there a plan to replace the live chat support with this AI bot?
Oh, okay. Good question. No, there is no plan to do that. Matt Baker was just on a he's our head of support, and
Right.
he would tell you he's the first one to be like, no, that won't work, and there's no plan to do it. But good question.
Yeah. And the next one is if Ex Libris staff are finding that knowledge assistant responses are easier. Oh, staff are
Yeah,
okay.
then the official documentation. Yeah.
Right, right.
Okay, well, that is my personal opinion. So just FYI, that is not the official like standard here that but yes, I personally do find it and and we will be giving feedback to that and we know that there's some problems or like some challenges with the official documentation. So I hope that it can be an iterative process, but maybe use it and put that in your feedback.
Feedback. And there is another group at Ex Libris that's reviewing documentation in general, right? I think there's a working group
Yes,
or
yes,
something.
it's an ongoing process. Yeah, there's a lot of documentation. Also there we're going to have one of knowledge portal that's coming out that's going to unify a lot of this. So that's like in the background too. There's not going to, hopefully there will, you won't have to go to like the developer network and the knowledge center anymore. We're going to try to have like one portal for everything. So more to
Nice.
come on those documentation enhancements.
Oh, so then as those get integrated in the knowledge portal and then the AI is able to interact with that, there might be some, developer coding help it could give you in the
Yeah,
future.
that's the hope,
That's
is
the
that
hope.
it could be unified and more streamlined for everybody.
Awesome. And then somebody was asking if catalogers have access to the AI assistant in Alma and how reliable is it in creating LCSH?
Mm. So you should have access. It is available. You may want to talk to your Alma admin about whether or not it's been enabled for your institution or if you have the permission because it is a role that you need. So they may just need to assign you the role, but it is available. So I guess talk to your admin, Alma admin about that. In terms of reliability, I can ask our product manager how they are evaluating that because it's a good question, but I don't know. From just anecdotally, the examples I have seen have been quite good, but I know that's not really like meaningful. So I'll run that by our product manager, see if I could get any more specifics for you.
Yeah, and I think some of that, a lot of that is coming out of the CZ team experiments with adding subject headings to
Mhm.
the content in the community zone. And someone is saying that there was a presentation at eLuna that talked about this.
Oh, and they said it was not reliable. I see Jeff said, okay, well, this is why I'm going to put it to our product manager because I'm very curious about yeah, and what people were using and was it like I know already like that it does generate things in other languages, but English was kind of the starting point. So we know that that's kind of a weakness. So yeah, I'll run that by and I'll get back to you. I have some takeaways from my other session too that we're going to post along with the recordings, is my understanding.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah, and it sounds like that group that did the presentation at eLuna maybe owes the community an update.
Yeah, I think so.
And then I've got one final question in the Q&A that this all seems really helpful, but I've seen a lot of discussion about generative AI in the environment. Do the systems that use AI for this use up a lot of resources that are contributing to higher electricity bills for lots of people? I believe you guys put out, or at least Clarivate put out a carbon zero environmental statement at some point. I don't know where you guys are with that.
Yeah, we do. Can I put this in I could put a link in the chat,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah, you should be able to.
So this is like our kind of official statement for Clarivate, net zero by 2040. And uh, so if you kind of want the official statement that you can read more there. Some of the things that I know from like for specifically for Alma Primo, one of the things we have done is try to use the smaller models where possible. Like we're using GPT Mini, not the GPT 4.1, at least for um, a lot of the things that I've shown you today. So they're definitely mindful of the environmental impact. They will also tell you that sometimes it feels like something that it's hard for any one person or institution to have an impact on, but I I do think we all have to do our part. So I am very pleased to see that we have the net zero by 2040 and that folks are thinking about this when they're thinking about which models to use. I have like a huge data center that just went in up the road from me. So
Oh
I
no.
can, yeah, it's just, a couple miles from where I live in Austin. So it's something that, I think about a lot. And I think I know they're getting feedback about it. So we're just trying to be as mindful as we can while still taking advantage of the benefits that it can offer. And I'm hoping that things will continue to evolve to where there's maybe more impact that we can have on an individual or institutional basis.
Awesome. And that was the last question.
Okay.
And we're right on time.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for your
Yeah.
time and attention. And yeah, I'll get the answers to this question and we'll get back with you. Thanks again.
Thank you, Lauren. We really appreciate you coming and chatting with us.
Okay.